News, talk, music, get it all
24 hours
on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and welcome to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Coming up in the news, African Union Election Mission Observation Chief to Bissau in UC urges publication of November 23 general election results. Burkina Faso reinstate death penalty for major offenses against the state and institutions.
In
terms of innovation, the current law contains many innovations across its 891 articles.
European Union EU pledges support to Ghana's efforts to strengthen ties with AES bloc to fight against insurgency.
The challenges facing the EAS countries cannot be dealt with by the EAS countries alone, and I believe that they recognize this.
And experts question the credibility of President Tinubu's list of ambassadorial nominees. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. 1 week after the coup in Guinea-Bissau, the head of the African Union's Observer Mission, former Mozambican President Philippe Nyusi, has spoken out. He believes the results of the November 23 general elections can and should be published. In the wake of this, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu is seeking to project an image of championing democracy in the sub-region by granting political asylum to Bissau Guinean opposition leader Fernando Diaz. More details with Augustine Coley.
Last Thursday, the EU election observation chief in Bissau stated that the election had gone well and that there is a winner, calling on the Electoral Commission to make the figures public. But this stance directly contradicts the Bissau Guinean Electoral Commission, which announced on Tuesday this week that it was unable to declare the results. The reason? Armed men seized electoral materials shortly before the verification of the tally sheets. The reaction from the camp of outgoing President Umaru Sissoco Embalo was swift. His spokesperson, Jose Paulo Simindo, described Philippe Nyusi's statement as unfortunate and dangerous. He recalled that the commission had explained its inability to work under insecure conditions and warned that any attempt to exert pressure could worsen the post-electoral crisis. In this climate of high political tension, Nigeria has also sent a strong diplomatic signal. Abuja announced that it had granted political asylum to Bissau Guinean opposition figure Fernando Diaz, who had taken refuge for several days in the Nigerian embassy in Bissau. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu wants to project himself as a defender of democracy in the sub-region. Late last week, former President Goodluck Jonathan, head of ECOWAS observation mission in Guinea-Bissau, was urgently received in Abuja upon his return. Guinea-Bissau remains mired in uncertainty as regional and international bodies continue to call for the swift restoration of constitutional order.
Augustine Coley reporting. Still in Guinea-Bissau, the junta is facing increased pressure from the regional institutions and CSO groups to ensure the continuation of the disrupted electoral process. On Thursday, former senior officials from ECOWAS, along with former leaders and diplomats, in an open letter reiterated the call already made by many to resolve the political crisis in the country. Their demand comes as the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, meets on December 14, 2025 for an extraordinary session. Adama Gai, former Director of Communications at ECOWAS, is one of the signatories of the open letter.
There
is a temptation to assume that ECOWAS might deploy its troops, as some suggested during the coup in Niger. But we know that approach did not succeed. Nations do not tolerate humiliation. This is one of the fundamental lessons from any geopolitician. Yet ECOWAS commands respect, and the countries it engages with are obliged to take its position seriously. ECOWAS has an important role to play in asserting itself, just as it successfully pressured Yahya Jammeh to leave the Gambia, and as it did in 2003 or shortly thereafter with Charles Taylor in Liberia. Today, its voice can carry similar weight in Guinea-Bissau, helping the country return to the path of building a state governed by the rule of law with strong institutions, respect for individual and collective freedoms, and structures that manage the state fairly, transparently, and for the benefit of the community. This is not a pipe dream, it is achievable. Around the world, we have seen many autocracies transformed into stable, virtuous states.
À travers le monde, se transformer en état vertueux.
Adama Gai, former Director of Communications at ECOWAS.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we are live online at wadr.org and on YouTube at WADR. Here in Senegal, the presidency has announced a new decree recognizing the Prime Minister's office. The decree number 2025/1929, with new management tools, strengthened services, and a revised administrative structure, establishes the Prime Minister's office as a true center for government coordination. This reform has been praised by some experts for its ambitions, but it also has raised questions within civil society. Francis Boniface has put on this report.
The draft decree reorganizing the Prime Minister's office introduces a major change in the government structure. The Prime Minister's office becomes a strengthened coordination hub, equipped with new management tools and a broader organization of its services. According to economist Dr. Suleiman Keita, this reform is not driven solely by political considerations. It is also based on clearly defined administrative principles.
So when I consider the positive effects, that is, the fact that a strengthened Prime Minister's office can have what we call stimulating effects. First, it can lead to an improvement in public policies. It allows for better harmonization of the work carried out by the ministries. Secondly, it helps reduce duplications since we observe a number of overlaps among certain ministries and agencies. It also allows the alignment of priority projects within the new governance framework, providing better visibility for these projects.
For El Haj Amadou Sam, a member of Senegal civil society, this new configuration may, however, entail certain risks and require heightened vigilance.
Any new decision can have economic implications. There are also other impacts that could be significant. And regarding the unit responsible for preparing the Council of Ministers compared to the 4 existing units, I think this one could be more expensive because with a Council of Ministers meeting held every week, we should expect higher budgetary implications.
Among the main innovations are the creation of a Deputy Chief of Staff position to improve follow-up on matters, the appointment of a Secretary of State attached to the Prime Minister's office and serving as government spokesperson, as well as an update of the Cabinet services. Adjustments that give the Prime Minister's office expanded capacity for action and a central role in steering government policy.
Francis Boniface with that report. Now to the Sahel, precisely Burkina Faso. The Transitional Authority has reinstated the death penalty following its adoption by the Council of Ministers. This comes as an amendment to the country's penal code. As a reminder, the death penalty was abolished in 2018 under the presidency of former President Roch Marc Christian Kabore. Other important decisions were also made during the weekly meeting of the Burkinabe Executive Branch. Dasso Rodrigue Bayala is Burkinabe Minister of Justice.
In terms of innovation, it must be said that the draft law, which relates to the current law, the Penal Code, contains many innovations across its 891 articles. Among them, a major innovation is the reinstatement of the death penalty and its execution procedures for a number of offenses, including treason. Specifically, Burkinabe is taking up arms against the country, acts of terrorism, espionage, and so on. Thus, the death penalty has been reinstated for a number of offences. Furthermore, there are several reforms that have been implemented in sectors that needed to be harmonised with the penal code. For example, community service is now a primary and independent sentence in the penal code. The promotion and practice of homosexuality and related activities, which are currently punishable under the penal code, has also been incorporated into the penal code. We have also reviewed the sanctions for economic crimes, which include embezzlement and acts of corruption.
The voice of Edazo Rodrigue Bayala, Burkinabe Minister of Justice. In Liberia, reactions continue to pour in towards a proposed bill seeking a reduction in lawmakers' monthly salaries from $8,000 to $5,000. This bill was introduced by Senator Darius DeLeon of Mensurada County. On Thursday, senators began debating the essence of the bill and its relevance. However, the proposal is stirring mixed reactions from citizens, civil society, including political actors and lawmakers alike. Anderson Miamen, the executive director of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Central, also reacts to the proposed bill.
Reduction in salary of lawmakers should have taken place like yesterday. That means it's long overdue. We have a rich country, but the richness is not really reflected in the lives of the people. And one of the main reasons for that is corruption. But beyond corruption, the available resources go to, for the most part, people in high political offices. So the way we design the budget over time has really been in a way that benefits higher ups in the government, lawmakers, ministers, heads of public corporations, and the like. It's timely, of course, it's long overdue. We need to get to a point whereby public resources can work for the people and not otherwise. And one of the ways to do that is to reduce the exorbitant salaries or very high salaries that lawmakers make. If we take 8,000 across the board for senators and representatives, you'll be talking about saving $1 million USD annually from the end of the senators, and you'll be talking about around 2.5 million annually for the representatives. That is a significant amount that, when applied properly, can help to create jobs, can help to provide empowerment for young people, can help to provide support to persons with disability, and it can help to fund some of the schools that we have.
Anderson Miamen, Executive Director of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Central, joins us in the later part of the news for more analysis. Let's now take you to Togo, where on December 2nd, the President of the Council of Ministers, Fonya Singbe, appeared before the National Assembly, a first in the country's history. Addressing representatives and senators, he delivered a solemn speech on the state of the nation, during which he reaffirmed his intention to make the Fifth Republic a system of governance focused on action and results. The statement has already sparked reactions both among the public and within the political class. Christopher Ticho has more.
In his address to the National Assembly, Fonya Singbe outlined the three main pillars intended to shape the Fifth Republic. He promised a new vision for Togo, a message that was well received by some Togolese. According to his supporters, the speech represents a key moment in the country's political trajectory.
Very moving. We truly weren't expecting this. First of all, simply complying with the Constitution, coming to speak about the nation before parliamentarians is already an innovation. We are truly in the Fifth Republic, and everything is contained in this speech. I believe we are eager to see the real results that the President of the Council dreams of.
But the enthusiasm is not shared by everyone. Others criticize the speech as unsurprising and out of touch with everyday realities.
I listened to the speech several times because I wanted to understand the essence of his speech, his message. After my personal analysis, I understood that the gentleman is asking us Togolese to forget or ignore the results of his poor governance. All we ask is that Togo be well governed. I'm not personally ready to trust him. A new era promised by the Prime Minister to the Togolese people. In all honesty, without being pessimistic, I would simply say, in my opinion, that it's a bluff. He's had 20 years to prove himself, and that's not likely to change now. In fact, there is no proof of that. He could have even addressed the people directly in his speech.
The president of the council now wants to center his governance around three priorities: protecting, uniting and transforming Togo. On security, Nyasingbe emphasized the need to strengthen national resilience in the face of regional threats, particularly in the north of the country. Politically, the executive aims to reinforce national cohesion through decentralization.
A report by WADR's Lome correspondent Sylvia Wadr and voiced by Christopher Ticho. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. African Election Mission Observation Chief to Bissau, Nayusi, urges publication of November 23 general election results. Burkina Faso reinstate death penalty for major offenses against the state and institutions. Still ahead in the news, European Union EU pledges support to Ghana's efforts to strengthen ties with the AES bloc to fight against insurgency. An expert questioned the credibility of President Tinubu's list of ambassadorial nominees. We also have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. The European Union has emphasized the need to develop new ways of responding to the growing security crisis in the Sahel, especially in the AES countries Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. The EU Special Representative for the Sahel, João Cravinho, on a visit to Accra and the northern regional capital, Tamale, says the bloc sees Ghana as a key partner in shaping a coordinated regional response. From Accra, Nadiri Tete reports.
According to the EU Special Representative for the Sahel, João Cravinho, the rise in jihadist activity and the recent coups in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger pose growing risks for the Sahel, the wider West African region and even Europe. He noted that although the three countries have withdrawn from ECOWAS, a sovereign decision the EU respects, their departure does not take them out of the region's security picture. During his visit to Accra and Tamale, João Cravinho warned that terrorist groups do not remain confined within borders, emphasizing that the nature of the threat demands coordinated regional action rather than isolated national efforts.
The challenges facing the EAS countries cannot be dealt with by the EAS countries alone. And I believe that they recognize this. And therefore, we need to be finding ways in which we can correspond to our security needs, to their security needs, and in a way that is appropriate.
João Cravinho said the EU remains committed to supporting Ghana as it plays a bridging role with the Sahel states.
We think that this is important, but we also think that it is not accomplished yet. We are willing to and keen to work with Ghana in order to find a new platform of understanding that will enable all of us to be fighting terrorism, which is in nobody's interest.
The EU's envoy, who was in Ghana on a 3-day mission to, among others, reaffirm the Union's commitment to regional security, held a series of high-level meetings, including discussions with President John Mahama on strengthening cooperation in addressing Sahel-related security threats. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
Away from Ghana, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has forwarded a new list of 65 ambassadorial nominees to the Senate, raising hopes for fully restored diplomatic representation abroad while simultaneously sparking intense debate at home. The nominations have drawn a blend of commendation and strong criticism. From Abuja, Usman Umar tells us more.
President Bola Tinubu Thursday forwarded a list of 65 ambassadorial nominees to the Senate, a combination of 34 career envoys and 31 non-career appointments seeking confirmation for postings abroad. Supporters say the appointments are overdue and necessary to restore Nigeria's diplomatic presence after a prolonged lull. Public affairs analyst Jide Ojo applauded the president's selections, calling them a pragmatic mix that could reposition Nigeria internationally and safeguard national interests overseas.
I think it's a good thing. The president is walking the talk. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, he set up a U.S.-Nigeria war joint committee to work out final details of support that we are going to be getting from U.S., particularly in the area of security assistance. And so this ambassador will be the one to oversee and superintend over that committee, in my own opinion. But better to have somebody there. And if the person is inefficient, can be removed and redeployed.
But the list has also stirred controversy. Critics argue that some nominees, notably the inclusion of former Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, raise serious concerns about the merit and public confidence in state institutions. Public affairs analyst Jake Ebele speaks on Yakubu's nomination.
It looks to me like political tokenism, a reward for his job well done in 2023. This is one appointment I would have asked the president to distance himself from.
As the 65-person list is now before the Senate's Committee on Foreign Affairs, the country awaits to see whether the nominees will be confirmed and whether Nigeria's diplomacy will bounce back or become further mired in domestic controversy. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Well, the guest interview focuses on Senegal's presidency announced a new decree reorganizing the Prime Minister's office. The decree number 2025-1929 with new management tools, strengthened services and a revised administrative structure establishes the Prime Minister's office as a true center for government coordination. This reform has been praised by some experts for its ambitions, but it has also raised questions within civil society. Professor Gorgui Jen is a political analyst. He provides an analysis of this latest measure by Senegal's president.
The office of the Prime Minister has been restructured in order to have more efficient governance in Senegal because some new offices have been established in order to have more efficiency, more coordination between the different government departments. So we can talk about reorganization of the activities of the role of the Prime Minister. But I believe that the main objective is to have more efficiency. But I don't believe that there has been any great reinforcement of the powers of the Prime Minister compared to the previous Prime Ministers. Maybe we want to have the decree establishes more efficiency, better organization of the activities of the government, and then the roles are very clearly set in order for every minister, every section at the office of the Prime Minister to be clearly stated.
Is there a need for an efficiency different from the way other Prime Ministers served this office, which requires reorganization that this government is doing?
Well, the role of the Prime Minister normally in Senegal is to coordinate the different activities of the different departments of the ministries. That is the role of the Prime Minister. And it is still the role of the Prime Minister, but it goes now beyond coordination. The role of the Prime Minister now is to establish very close links, very close coordination, very close partnerships between the different ministries of the government. We have got now to know that it is the Prime Minister's office who control efficiency, the implementation of the reforms, the implementation of the programs, Of course, that used to be the case, but it is now much more normalized, much more standardized than before. But I don't believe that there has been any great change compared to what it used to be in the past. Because the President of the Republic has not taken any powers from his to give them to the Prime Minister, because the President remains central to any activity of the government.
Is it by law that the reorganization of the Prime Minister's office is coming at this time?
Well, it is not about that, because there hasn't been any real change. To tell the truth, the President has not given to the Prime Minister any new powers. The President remains the main coordinator, the main actor of the Senegalese governance. So what is new here is simply that things has been more or better structured. The activities of the different ministries has been better, stated, and we have now better coordination between the different ministers, and then everything will be done and coordinated from the Prime Minister's office. And this has always been the role of the Prime Minister, but that has not been stated very clearly as it has been done today.
Professor Gorgui Jen is a Senegalese political analyst. In the sporting world, at the 2026 World Cup draw ceremony on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump was honored with the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize, or a Man of Peace Award, by the World Football Governing Body. Reacting to his award, the American president declared, and I quote, "This is one of the greatest honors of my life. Beyond the awards, we have saved lives. The Congo is a perfect example. India, Pakistan, so many wars that we were able to end," end of quote. Elsewhere in Istanbul, prosecutors on Friday ordered the arrest of 46 people, among them 29 football players, as part of a sprawling investigation into illegal betting on Turkish matches. Among the arrested players, 27 are suspected of having bet on matches involving their own teams, the Public Prosecutor's Office said in a statement. And that's it for sports news. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Saik and Ismaila Kamara for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at WADR English. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM, Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.